Okay, so these are the extra problems that you need to work out to study for your test, and hopefully you've worked them out before this video, but if not, it's okay that you work them out while we do it. As long as you actually work out the problems and study. That's our goal for this, is to make sure that we study for our test so that we are as successful as possible. So I'm going to go to the next page so that I have plenty of room to write this. We're going to start with number 1. Our first problem was an absolute value, absolute value problem. And it said the absolute value of 8w plus 5 equals 21. Now we know with absolute value that we have to have two answers, a positive and a negative. So we have 8w plus 5 equals 21 and 8w plus 5 equals negative 21. And I'll give you a second to write that down. Now we're solving both sides for w. So over here we're going to subtract 5. We're going to start on the positive side. And we get 8w equals 16. Then we're going to divide both sides by 8 and w equals 2. Now we're going to subtract 5 from both sides over here. And we get 8w equals negative 26. We're going to divide by 8. And that is negative 3.25. So from here, we're going to graph 0, 1, oops. Now I'm making these ticks because this is negative 3.25, so I want to make sure I have enough space. So that's 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2. Alright, so this is at negative 3.25, and this is at 2, and I'll give you a minute to finish graphing. Now, we have to find the middle. The middle this time is going to be 5 divided by 8, which is 0.625. So, it's the opposite of this, so it's negative. This is 0.25, this is negative and a half. It's going to be somewhere in between there, so we're going to draw a line. And then our units are going to be 21 divided by 8, which is 2.625. And you don't have one that ugly on your test, but it's just good practice. Alright, number 2 is a much prettier graph and a much prettier problem. It's the absolute value of 4t minus 8 equals 20. So again, we break it down to our positive and our negative, and we have 4t minus 8 equals 20, and 4t minus 8 equals negative 20. So over here, on the left side, on our positive, we're going to add 8 to both sides. And we get 4t equals 28. And we divide by 4, and we know that t equals 7. On the right, we're going to add 8 to both sides. And we get 4t equals negative 12. We divide by 4, and t equals negative 3. Now from there we're going to graph. Again, this is a much, much prettier graph. Alright, so we have a dot at negative 3 and 7. Now you could count to the middle, or you could just do 8 divided by 4. And I know that 8 divided by 4 is 2, so it's at positive 2. And that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. Boom, we're done with the absolute value. All right, now we're going to do our proportions problems. Number 1 on proportions says 2n minus 4 divided by 5 equals 3n plus 6 divided by 10. So from here we cross multiply. Anytime in proportions you cross multiply. You would do 10 times 2n minus 4 equals 5 times 3n plus 6. From here, we distribute on both sides, so we're going to distribute our 10 first, and that gives us 20n minus 40 equals 15n plus 30. All right, from here, we would subtract 15n. And then we would add 40. And we get 5n equals 70. Divide by 5, and I know that my n's look like h's, but they're not. And n equals 14. Hopefully you got that as well. If not, walk back through the steps just like I did them. We cross multiply, we distribute, we subtract, we add, we divide, get our answer. Number 2 on this says 9b minus 3 divided by 9 equals 5b plus 5 divided by 3. Alright, so from there it's still a proportion, so we cross multiply. And we get 3 times 9b minus 3 equals 9 times 5b plus 5. Then you get 27b minus 9 equals 45b plus 45. Forgot to draw my arrows. Super sorry. Alright, then we subtract 45b from both sides. And 27 minus 45 is negative 18. B. And then we add 9. I'll give you a minute to finish writing. And then from there, we divide both sides by negative 18. And b equals negative 3. All right, now, if you got either of these wrong, it's perfectly okay. Just go back and follow the steps on what we did so that you can correct your mistake for tomorrow. The last thing that we're going to cover is literal equations, or recover rather. And for some reason I wrote numbers on the others, and then this I decided to go with letters, so who knows what's happening. And it says we're solving this for V. So we're going to go ahead and draw our force field around V. That means we can't do anything to V yet. So we need to move our plus Z. Move it closer so you guys can see. We're going to subtract Z from both sides. And remember, with literal equations, you literally write down what it says you did. Since you can't combine U minus Z, we're going to write down U minus Z. V still has that force field because he's not alone. Now we're going to divide both sides by W because we need to get the V alone, and it's V times W. So V equals U minus Z divided by W. All right, from here, let's do B. And we're solving for V. And remember, it tells you what variable to solve for each time. So let's go ahead and put that force field. And we're going to subtract W from both sides because we need to move that W away from our 5/9. Now in fractions, we talked about that other way to solve. We're going to multiply both sides by 9. And notice that it's in parentheses. You can distribute, or you can just write 9 times Z minus W. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to literally write what we did. Now from here, we're going to divide everything by 5. And that's our answer. And that's a 9, not an A. Please make sure you study. Please rework the problems. We're doing this for your benefit so that you can succeed. See you tomorrow.